Hello everybody and welcome into this Doctor Who review, and today we will be taking a look at The Wheel in Space, which is one of my favourite Cyberman stories and one of my favourite 60 stories. I could do a more sophisticated version of this, but you don't see too many of these anymore on the internet, so I thought I'd do it with the CD instead. So take a look at the front cover. We have got the Doctor and Jamie aboard the Silver Carrot, as you can see in the background. We've got the corridor, then we've got the wheel at BBC, Doctor at the Wheel in Space, and then we've got the Servo, a robot from episode 1 with the Cybermats around it, and the Cybermen themselves menacing Zoe. And across the bottom we have the original BBC television soundtrack, and the side, Doctor at the Wheel in Space, BBC, and back. Again, just a repeat on the pictures at the top, and this is the 2CD release. The running time is 2 hours and 20 minutes, and the description is as followed. Patrick Troughton's Doctor once more confronts the Cybermen in his exclusive recording of a lost television adventure of leaking a narration by Wendy Padbury. The Cybermen need to colonise them must have the treasures of Earth. Taking drastic measures to escape a TARDIS malfunction, the Doctor and Jamie arrive on the Silver Carrier, apparently deserted in space, and soon encounter the aggressive robot guard. But when a blow to the head renders the Doctor unconscious, Jamie's only hope of rescue lies in contacting the Wheel space station, which is orbiting nearby. In fact, the rocket has other occupants who are sending out mysterious egg-like spheres to penetrate the Wheel's outer service. What dangerous cargo do the spheres bring to the human crew of the Wheel, and what is the intention of those who are sending them? It's not long before the Doctor and Jamie realise that their old enemies, the Cybermen, are seeking to invade first the Wheel and the Earth itself. One by one, the space station's crew are being taken over while deadly road-blank Cybermats roam the space station and steadily consume its fuel supply. On top of everything, a meteorite storm is approaching, but the Wheel's defense system has been disabled. The 6-part adventure first broadcast on BBC One in 1968 featured the debut of the Doctor's companion Zoe, played by the Seven Tracks, and narrator Wendy Padbury. This was first released in 2004, and this edition is from 2012, though it was released in 2021 as a single disc release. So inside CD1 and CD2 with advertisements for some Tom Baker audios, and the booklet itself we've got just some general information on the programme there. Again, we've got the front cover there. Inside we've got the cast, and this was written by David Whittaker, who is probably my favourite Doctor Who writer, and from an idea by Kit Pedler, the Cybermen and the creator. This was first broadcast on the 27th of April 1968, and the last broadcast on the 1st of June 1968. And we got the cast there, and we got a picture of the Cybermats and some audio information. This is the track listing. So CD1 contains episodes 1, 2 and 3, and CD2 contains episodes 4, 5 and 6. There we go. So that is the showcase of The Wheel in Space done. So now to my general thoughts and opinions on the CD itself. My word, this is one of my favourite Troughton stories. I think this one always gets a bit of a bad rep from fans, but I don't have any sort of issue with that at all. In fact, the first time I listened to it back in 2018, I just really loved it and it blew my mind. It is a very, very atmospheric story. The Cybermen are actually very creepy in this, and particularly really cunning actually, even though they do have a rep for it, particularly in the movies, but in this one they're really cunning and quite manipulative, really deep. It's like there's in episode 4 that they take over a character called Duggan, and they basically send him off to destroy the Wheels communications system, which basically kills him. So they basically send him to his death, which is really quite creepy. And in particular, the scene with where Chang gets killed, which is unfortunately played a Asian character played by a white actor, but it's part of the course really. But after that time, at least, but that's a really creepy scene, and I really wish that existed, because the telesnaps and the audio make it sound really atmospheric. And just episode 1, I can see why people could struggle with it on audio, because it is very visual, but it is really atmospheric, particularly the soundtrack composed by Brian Hodgson, which is really sort of ambient tones, and it's really quite creepy, particularly when they sort of particularly when certain dialogue scenes really emphasise the loneliness of being in space. Just the characters are really well utilised as well. Jarvis, Bennett, have a really nice pairing, particularly contrasted with Leo and Tanya, because Jarvis has quite a nice character arc, particularly in this story, because he sort of starts out as this quite gruff commander, but then sort of slowly deteriorates because of the mysteries surrounding the Wheel. But then by the end of the episode, he commits a sacrifice, which is ultimately a humane act. And this is just a really good story. And obviously Patrick Troughton's great, and Fraser Jamie is actually really resourceful, as he gets a really good introduction in this as well. She's excellent, because I think she's quite nicely contrasted with the Cybermen in this, because throughout of the story she gets quite a nice character arc of kind of questioning her sort of place in the universe, and her kind of emotionless or perceived emotionless state, because one of the characters, I think it was Leo Ryan, says we're all breaking at heart. But yeah, characters are excellent. Cybermen are really well utilised. As I said previously, the music by Brian Hodgson is excellent. The cliffhangers are bloody brilliant as well. Particularly, I really like episode 1 is a really clever misdirection, because you could think obviously it's a Cyberman story, but I won't quite spoil what happens, but I think it is mentioned in the blurb. But yeah, it's just a very clever cliffhanger, which is done by the writers and producing things. Really brilliant story. I really enjoy this one. I know, apart from that, I don't really have any problems with this one, actually, just because, yeah, the Cybermen, I actually prefer them here to in the moon base, particularly their voices, because I think it's the Cyber Planet in this one is voiced by Peter Hawkins, and sometimes his version of the voices can be quite unintelligible, whereas I think Roy Skelton's interpretation sort of finds a nice balance between kind of monotone and kind of maintain that. But I think the Cybermats are much better used here than they are in Tomb of the Cybermen, because there's a scene in episode 3 where the character Rudkin gets killed. And again, there's a scene with the Cybermats closing in on the Doctor and Jamie in the loading bay in episode 5, which is really creepy, particularly on the surviving episodes and the telesnaps, because you can see that Tristan Cole directs it really, really well, and they're kind of these sort of silent monoliths creeping about at the Wheel space station, and it's just, excellent. Really enjoy that. So yeah, that is my review of The Wheel in Space. It's very underrated, this one. I really, really love it. It's my favourite Cyberpunk story. Probably my favourite Troughton, behind Evil of Daleks, perhaps. Maybe, I don't quite know. I'll probably have to watch it again, but yeah, I have no problems with this whatsoever. I don't really know why people do tend to slag this one off. Like I can understand it, but I don't have any problems with it really, because it's the fact that because people say that the Cyberman's plan is too complicated, but I don't see it as that. Because they find this rocket and they pilot it near the wheel, and they sort of hide somewhere on the ship, and then they send over the Cybermats to destroy the Urbanalium and conveniently park this rocket nearby so that someone might think, there's Urbanalium there. So they go over to the rocket, hit the task of the crew, and then bring the Cybermen back over so that they can undertake their plans, which is to take over the wheel in order to use as a launch pad for their invasion tour. But yeah, this is a fantastic Cyberman story. I really enjoy it. It's just, I don't really see why anyone has a problem with it really. It's just always been one of my favourites, and it's a bit controversial, but yeah, excellent story. I personally rate it about 9 out of 10. Like, I would rate it higher, but unfortunately I can't sort of give it really a fair judgment because we don't have all 6 episodes, and if we did, it could be a 10, or if it's animated maybe, which I hope happens soon, because this one really does need an animation. It's kind of not dying out, but it's kind of crying out for like a really good Moonbase or Evil of the Dalek style animation, just because people will probably then discover what a classic this one is. So yeah, I rate this one 9 out of 10. So thank you for watching this quick review of Weird Space. I hope you'll enjoy it and have a great day, and I'll see you in the next one.